This conference will now be recorded.
All right. And it looks like we have everybody here. So we'll call the meeting to order. And does someone want to say the Pledge of Allegiance? If not, I'll start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Kine?
Here.
Mr. Malagranda?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Here.
Ms. Morgan? Here. Mrs. O'Rourke? Here.
All right, so we have a quorum tonight, and we are able to meet remotely. Governor Pritzker did on February 5th, 2021, enter Executive Order 2021-04, which extended Executive Order 2020-07, which relates to in-person meeting requirements. And he has extended the disaster through March 6th of 2021. So we are meeting under the Open Meetings Act, remote meetings guidelines, and I am present at the village office. So we do have a member of the board present. But due to COVID, we do have members that are meeting outside of the village office due to the small configuration. We also cannot allow the public in here. So we did provide notice to the public having the meeting information on the agenda. Just remember, all votes must be by roll call, and we'll go on to the next item on the agenda.
Before we start, can I verify who the guests are?
Yes.
I have Sergeant Hack, Sally Bennett, Kelly Simon, Beth Gronwald, Attorney Gaziano, Officer Spellman, Chad Insko, Officer Nyland.
Yes.
No one else?
Not that we see.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any conflict of interest tonight? All right. If you do find that you have a conflict, please let me know. Do we have any changes in the agenda? All right. Hearing none, we could have a motion to approve the agenda.
Jeremy Graham will make that motion.
Julie, second.
I think Julie
I
O'Rourke was second.
Okay.
So roll call.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kine?
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Yes. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And now we will move on to the consent agenda. We can have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Time so moves.
Jeremy Graham will second.
All right. If we could have roll call, please.
Mr. Kine?
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Yes. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
All right. We have no one signed up for public comment tonight, so we'll move on to our committee reports and department reports. Public Works.
Just give me a second here.
No problem.
Well, first item on there is, again, as usual, we do have our minutes that were included in the board packet. So if you can catch up on any detail. Item number 2, we really don't need to take any action on. A little bit of confusion, relative to the payment on there is we did, at the January meeting, we did approve purchase of salt to amount not to exceed $12,000. The actual invoice came in for $11,402, so we've already kind of taken care of that. There was a little bit of confusion with the treasurer from the standpoint that we did have another invoice in January for $10,000 and change. However, that invoice actually goes back to the approval that we made in November. So we did approve up to $12,000 in November. That salt, came in and was invoiced in December. That January invoice was paid in January. We subsequently had another approval of $12,000, which is the invoice at stake. So technically, it's all there. It was just a timing because of the year end. So there's really no action required on that. The third item, I'm still working with Chad to try to get this thing all cleaned up, but on the agenda, that basically there was an approval of $367 over an amount that we had previously approved in October. The actual approval is a little bit higher than that. That work was intended to get the public works buildings all connected onto power, and with the backup power supply from a generator we had on hand. At that point in time, we did approve $4,500 upgrades and repairs. There was a little bit of a contingency built in there. Unfortunately, there was some damage to a transfer switch that we expected to be reused, and there was a short that occurred. In total, we've actually got about $6,000 worth of repairs. We approved $4,500. However, there's a little bit of a confusion with some of the invoices that I want to get remedied before we approve it. But most likely, it looks like we'll be approving 3 invoices to Rush Power. The original planned invoice was $987.50, which was to start up the generator. As I indicated, we had a shorted out transfer switch that we intended on using again. And so we had to go out and purchase a new transfer switch at $1,892.50. And then to do all the connections and upgrades and everything, there was another $1,987.64. So there's 3 invoices in question that are $4,867. I need a little bit more time to satisfy myself that everything is squared before we move forward on that. It is at a level that I do have the ability to approve once I'm satisfied. And then we will bring the board up to speed in March, exactly how that settled out. And if I feel that we need the board approval, we'll bring it up at that point in time.
All right. Thank you, Mike, for the explanation. Anything for Public Works? All right. We'll move on to Village Engineer. I know we've got a report. I don't know if there's anything else, Seth.
Not a whole lot else other than the design for the Elida Street project is advancing along. We anticipate getting that into IDOT very soon for their sign off. And then once they have approved of everything and Chad approves of everything, we'll get that out for bid and then obviously come back to the board with the bidding results.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to Community Development.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Community development. You can see in the packet, there is a copy of the minutes. If you haven't read those, I suggest that you do. Our code enforcement officer sent in a report. This is number 2, and he had nothing to report as far as violations, actions taken, or responses. He had none, so that did. Solar power system enforcement ordinance and inspection requirements, both commercial and residential. We did have the church up there apply for a commercial license. I'd like Mary's input if she would please get us up to date on our solar electrical system.
Yeah, what I can tell you is you've had the draft for some time of the residential solar. I'm working on the commercial, but for the reason we haven't brought the residential before the board is a couple weeks ago, I had talked with Paul Happick, the electrical inspector, and he had some additional language that he wanted added. And I had called him just a couple of days ago because I hadn't received anything. And He said that he thought he had sent it, so he was going to be checking his email. So I should be getting that soon. And the idea or the hope is that for the next meeting, we would certainly be able to pass the residential one, and hopefully I'll get a draft to you of a commercial one before that, so perhaps we can address that at that meeting as well. Because obviously we're getting some interest now in the commercial.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Go to number 4, the downtown business signs that lighted Main Street. As you can see in the minutes that were recorded, there was quite a conversation of this, and we did come to a decision as far as the committee was concerned. And Frank, I'd like your input on this also, please.
So for the downtown businesses, we have a situation where the businesses want to have their names on the signs. The sign is an older sign. I believe the invoice shows it was a 2007 or 2008 purchase.
8, yes.
By the village. I think what it really needs to come down to is, do we, as the village, since we own the pole, we own the signs, we control the area where the pole is embedded in the ground, do we want to then be in control of who puts a sign on there and dictate, okay, this is going to be the price to have your sign, whatever the sign is for Mr. Veal to prepare the sign, whatever the cost is for that, and whatever our cost is for our employees to affix each sign. Do we want to do that, or do we want to have the chamber take ownership of the pole and the signs and have the chamber determine who gets to go on there through its membership? I didn't know until, I believe it was last week, when I was forwarded, I think Kelly had found, or Sally Bennett had found the invoices showing that we actually, when we purchased the sign and the pole. And so that it's really, do we want to keep that and then ask any businesses, whether they're in the chamber or not, to put up a sign or not? So I think that's something that either at the board level we need to decide, or community development needs to decide, so that there's direction as to where the businesses go to get their approval to be on the sign. And I really don't have a problem with the village doing it. Initially, I thought it should be the chamber, but since it's our sign and we've done it before, I have no problem with the village doing it. I would suggest that we have some type of a notice to the businesses in the downtown area, not just the ones on Benton Street, but some that are on Main Street. Give them a time period of 90 days or so to fill out an application for a sign. Let them know what the cost is on the application. And if it's a $50 sign from Veal, and if it's $25 per sign for us to affix it, then we charge them $75. And then we do that. So again,
well, the problem with it was brought up about the lighting of the sign. And both of everybody that was on the committee said that it was not the responsibility of the taxpayers of the city or the village of Winnebago to pay for a light 20 hours a day or whatever it was to light that particular sign. Also, they wanted us to take full responsibility for the maintenance of the sign. And if you'll read the minutes, you'll see on the second page, the chamber has no responsibility in regard to the sign, but rather passes along information. And there was another concern about another business downtown that has another sign, which we discussed that also. So there are 3 different things that have. If we allow people to come and put signs, put the sign on that, which they have already collected money. It's $50 per sign, and it's on both sides. So I believe it's $100 per the sign. Do we want to take the responsibility of hanging the sign? Who's going to hang it? And if that is Mr. Veals, has he made a proposal? If he has, I have not seen a thing. Has anybody on the board seen anything as far as in writing as to a proposal, what they're looking for? But Denise actually is the one that said that there was, they had, as far as the WACC is not interested in ownership of the sign or wants any liability of the sign. So we'll put that out for discussion. Mike, do you have any?
For the lighting, we may have a business owner downtown that may spend the money for the lighting. I mean, if we look at solar, we could see what the cost for a solar light is that hopefully would charge during the day and light up at night. And the initial expense will be the cost of the solar unit and the installation. If that's feasible to do it like that, then we can find out what the cost is. And then we can say, okay, that's the initial cost. If you want to have a sign, it's going to cost $2,000 for the solar light plus $50 for a sign. The more businesses that come in, they can contribute towards that light, or we can ask the particular business owner if they're willing to pay for the whole solar light and the installation. So I think what we need to look at is, number one, does the village want to maintain the sign and be responsible for the sign? I think that's okay if the village does. Number two, what is the cost of the solar light? What are the options for solar lighting? What are the costs for solar lighting? So we know what those costs are. Number three, the village is not going to pay anything for this. We may pay the initial cost, but get it back through the signage costs. What are those costs going to be? And then how many of the applicants want to have a sign? And again, if we have a donor that's going to pay for certain things, then we know what our fixed costs are going to be. So I think those are kind of the three things we need to look at.
I think that's very, because I want to see whose responsibility is. I fixed the solar light, personal observation, and it lasted about a year and a half before I had to replace quite a bit at quite an expense. I don't have that solar light anymore, but it's just something to discuss. I didn't want to get in the center or in the middle of this, and it seems as though we're hurting the businesses by not doing it for them. But how many people? I'm not on their payroll. I am not on I don't have a business in Winnebago, although I do own a business. I don't feel as though that we are responsible for anything on that sign. I'm not, the people of Winnebago have no monetary investment in any type of sign. It goes on our property and we let them use the sign, but as far as personal concern is, I don't want any responsibility to be put on the village. Okay, Mike, your input.
Mike, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Apologies for that. I said, the only thing I can say is, as I mentioned in the community development meeting, if the sign that is being used is going to continue to be used, it's on our property, so we can't walk away from its entirety, whether it's through some sort of a, intergovernmental agreement or, some type of other arrangement. Yes, we all want to support our businesses, but
right.
If we're taking the effort, and even whether it's village resources and time, and even billing back and recovering some of those dollars, if we're putting more signage and so forth for the ones downtown, what type of repercussions may we experience from everybody down at the corners? The fact that we're delegating village resources to maintain something, unless we're absolutely certain we're recovering all of those costs, so that way they're, one set of taxpayers are not subsidizing another set of taxpayers. I know right now, if something, the only people that we have available to maintain it and change it, shorter using outside contractors, the Public Works Department. And if anything need to be done right now, they're strapped for time with all of the snow removal and everything. If all of a sudden a light goes out or a sign needs to be replaced, where do we assess the priority on that versus clearing of streets and fixing the water mains? And it gets to be a slippery slope.
Mike, you make a good point, and it's kind of similar to the softball diamond, the lighted diamond that we have. We don't have a fixed revenue source to repair the lights, ballasts, and other things with the lights down at the park. And so what we would need to do is look at, do we have a quarterly or a monthly fee that we charge those that actually have a sign on the pole? And we kind of determine, okay, what is the lifespan of a solar light? What are the annual costs to repair a solar light? And we figured, okay, not only do you pay for the sign cost, but you also pay the village an extra $20 a month or $50 a quarter. And it goes into a maintaining the sign fund for that, so that we then have the funds on hand that's not taxpayers' money. So, we either need to take down the sign and not put anything up, or we need to maintain it at the expense of the business owners. And that's where I think we could have the committee kind of look into that and have the discussion, maybe bring in some of the top. I would suggest you bring in some representatives again from the chamber, but also some representatives from the downtown, like Mike Woolbright from the Scoop, maybe Vince from Semino's, anybody. I would say maybe have them.
How about
involved.
Mr. Veal? How about Mr. Veal? I understand that they have already sold some signs.
Well,
But
and then you could
that's
have
just-
Mr. Veal. You could have Mr. Veal there, and then also ask Mr. Veal, would he be interested in installing the signs? So the village is not responsible for installing the signs, or see if he knows of somebody that would be capable of installing the signs that we would contract out to somebody.
He did install the signs the last time they were put up. I know that because I was on the board when that happened. They did everything through Mr. Veal. Mr. Veal painted the signs, he put them up, and took care of it. I don't know who paid for the painting of it or who did that, but there was the sign itself was based. It was an old Sunoco sign that was put up there and was taken down. And Mr. Veal of Veal Sign Company is the one who spearheaded the whole sign. I'd like to get him in and have him join us in a meeting, and we'll discuss it as to which way we should go. What I'm interested in is how far should we go? Do we want it in a government contract with this? It seems as though it's bringing up more questions than it is answered. So, Julie, you got anything to add to that? Or Lori?
No, I mean,
And is it going to be limited to just the downtown businesses as it has been in the past?
I think the idea would be that you would have a business that's around the area. So like if you come to downtown, I would say that Mr. Whitehead's business, which is on Main Street, he should be able to advertise on there. I don't know if Culver's is going to want to advertise on the sign because it's typically a downtown sign. But if they do, they can put their sign up there.
That was my question, because I think even if the cost is spread out amongst the business owners, you still have then a village-owned sign. And so why would the village say that you could only be on that sign if you were a downtown business? I think you at least offer it to them. They may not be interested because of the distance.
And that's a good idea, Mary, because we do have the Prairie Path. And the Prairie Path, we would want to have signage or things that would announce every single business or somehow have businesses advertise themselves on the Prairie Path. So we could have, I mean, if Culver's wants to have a sign that says Culver's, 1.2 miles north, so be it. If Taco Bell and Sullivan's and everybody else, McDonald's, if they want to do that, I don't see an issue. The only thing we'd have to do is maybe see what limits there are. So it'd be a first come, first serve, like the first 40 or however many can fit on there.
Yeah, or if you have more of an interest, then maybe a lottery.
Right. So that's why we would want to have a 90-day or 120-day or whatever type of time frame to get it out there and have people respond with an application as to their interest. So we know, are we going to have 10 businesses? Are we going to have 40 businesses? So we know what the cost might be as well.
Are the businesses out at the corners, are they considered part of the village of Winnebago?
Yes,
Yes.
that's been annexed.
Yeah.
Frank,
There's a
I know
lot-
you said, is there a reason? I mean, to me, this is a chamber thing. This isn't a village thing. And I know it's on our property, but why won't the chamber own this? Why won't they just take it from here? Or?
They didn't want
I
to
asked.
burden.
Well, we haven't offered the sign to them.
Well,
Like-
No,
they
we
have
haven't, we
stated
didn't
that,
offer directly, but when they were participating in the community development meeting, the last time around, they made it pretty clear they weren't interested in taking on the responsibility. And again, they're there to represent the businesses. I mean, I want to support the businesses to the best of our ability, but you're taking one segment of it, utilizing village resources. And yes, if we can get a sign company who's going to manage everything and, all the expenses is picked up and shared to the business owners, yes, it's easy enough for us to write an agreement of, administering it on our property and everything. But, this would seem to be a business driven activity and not a village activity.
Right. That's why I thought it would be initially the responsibility of the chamber, because they have the direct link to the businesses. They can
Right.
easily determine who in their membership would be interested, and they could move forward with the effort. So that's, I think, why we initially thought it would be the chamber. Now, the fact that it's a village-owned sign and pole, Sally Bennett mentioned that we could maybe lease it to them. If it's ours, we could lease it to them so that they have the ability to then, take over the sign and have members on there. So I think if the chamber is not interested at all, then, and really that's up to the chamber. I mean, if they don't want to do it, they won't do it. Then it's up to the village to decide if we want to do it. And if we don't want to do it, then we leave it up to the individual businesses to find space to advertise.
Yes, because I like the next sentence. The chamber has no responsibility in regard to the sign, but rather passes along information. I thought that was very interesting, what she said. Okay, well, I guess I'll call another meeting. We'll have these people out. We'll put a 90-day time limit on it. By that time, it should be good enough if they want to do something and it won't be 10 degrees below zero, they'll be able to do something. And I will get a hold of Mr. Veal and have him come along. Denise will be invited, and whoever wants to come. I don't know if we have it. I'll ask this question kind of. When do you think we're going to be released so we can actually have a meeting, Frank? Do you have any? I just read the information that was sent out. I don't think it's going to be any time soon. Do you think?
When you talk about release to have a meeting, do you mean where we're all in person?
Yes.
We just had installed one set of the sneeze guards, which I've got one to the right of me, one to the left of me. If we have additional ones, we could put those up. It is pretty tight with all the chairs here. So what I would recommend is, maybe we don't have everybody's, if we don't have enough room, we can space out people around the table and then have some sitting out in where we'd have the audience. We'd still have to have the public not attend here because we just don't have room for them.
Uh,
But when people are comfortable to come in, we might be able to start having some people come into the meeting and still some meet virtually. It's going to be up to each individual, I believe.
Yeah, I'd like to have a good discussion because I'm getting different viewpoints from different ideas. I don't think if we expand it, I don't think the signage, the side of it will be the same thing. It will be too small if we get too many people that want to go on the sign and everything else. So I'll call another meeting and see whether or not, and I'll get up an agenda and I'll converse with you what actually we should talk about. Has anybody got any other information or would like to voice any opinion on the downtown sign on Elida and Main Street?
The only thing I would suggest is maybe Mr. Veal has some experience with the solar lighting or information he can give us, because at the time you meet with the business owners, I would think you would want to have some financial information, because they're going to ask how much it's going to cost, I would think.
Well, I know how much they're charging for it. I don't have any idea because the village is not, handling any money. I don't know whether it's Mr. Veal or not. I will call Mr. Veal tomorrow and see just exactly what the situation is as far as the number of signs he has sold and everything else. And if it's so, and if I find out any information, I will email each board member or have Kelly do it in a timely manner. Okay. Anything else? Got anything else, Mary?
No, that was it. I just thought he might have some information on solar.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he does. I've got that down in my notes. Okay. Next thing is 4th of July. We had a long discussion about 4th of July. 4th of July, as far as the fireworks and as far as the parade is concerned. As of right now, because of the government and the governor's issuance, the parade is put on the back burner. The fireworks may be I don't know how to say this exactly, but we could have fireworks by people that are sitting in their cars or within certain areas where we could have the fireworks put out and put up and put out. I don't think the after spending what they did on making those fields up there and doing all those at the school, I don't think they'd be too interested in having too many automobiles in there. But I was talking with Nick Happ, and I asked him if he would draw up, or at least at this meeting, be able to speak as to what he could do as far as parking would be concerned, if we considered that as a criteria. Nick?
Well, I just kind of started piecing together, and I mean, we can't be too tight on the parking situation on the streets because we have to make sure to keep the roads clear for emergency vehicles, namely fire trucks and ambulances. Squad cars are a lot easier to maneuver, but I am working on coming up with a plan for parking along the roads here in the village.
Okay, and I think that's another thing we can discuss at the community develop meeting. As soon as I can get together with Mr. Veal, I'll call a meeting and let the people who are concerned know just exactly where we're going to go with it. We have until what, April 1st before we have to sign the contract with Melrose. Is that right, Frank?
I believe that's what somebody forwarded to me, was we had until that time.
Okay, so we've got the whole month of whole month of March to discuss just exactly what and if we can do that. Also, as far as the fireworks are concerned, they had collected so far in the fund for the fireworks. They had, what did we write down? I had that here. They have a balance of $3,401.33 in the 4th of July fireworks fund. So just as for your information. And Sally, do you have anything else on that? Sally Bennett.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess that's it, Frank.
All right, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the village attorney.
On Mantle Development Group, I was mentioning to Frank before the meeting that I recently was informed that they have picked a date now for the tax sale, which is the 28th of February. So that we're still working on the agreement. And so we would have to have a special board meeting. It wouldn't necessarily be long, but to approve it, unless we worked out some other arrangement. But that's where we're going forward with. And by being able to accomplish it before the 28th of February, then we'll save on the interest, because once they're sold at the tax sale, then we still would have the opportunity to redeem in conjunction with Mantle Development Group, but there would be some automatic additional interest that would go on, and we want to avoid that. We do have to make that payment for when we either set the meeting or we want to make sure we get it done. At least it's a couple of days before, because you do have to have the payment in a couple of days before the tax sale so that they can process it and basically take it off the rolls.
So Mary, just in the timing of things, Mantle Development is going to have to sign this agreement. So do we know who has authority to sign that agreement? Do we know that that can be done quickly?
Yeah, I don't see that that's going to be a problem. That would be Alan Tanner, because he's the sole member of Mantle Development Group. I haven't seen anything that has given Jesse Dabson a power of attorney as to that aspect of it. And it appears that Attorney Keelty is, certainly able to communicate with him via email. So I don't see that as a problem. There was a document when they did their response to have on file, and Attorney Keelty had signed, but then said he was going to forward me one that Alan Tanner had signed. It was only within a couple of days. So I don't see that as an issue.
So is there going to be an order entered? Is this an agreement for an order to be entered in the court case so that we'll have a signed order by the judge saying this shall be done? Or is it a side agreement that we have with Mantle Development that allows us to purchase then the taxes?
It would be a settlement agreement, basically. That's what I've titled it, which sets out what the agreement would be to settle the case. But of course, we don't dismiss the case until it's effectuated.
Right, but I guess what I'm looking at is we have a settlement agreement. We would sign it, maybe Mantle Development will sign it before we sign it. Once both parties sign it, then it still has to be approved by the court. Now, most likely it would be approved by the court, but if for some reason Mantle, when we go to court, says, oh, nope, we're not going to do it, and they withdraw their consent, we either need to make sure the agreement says that they can't do that, that it's effective immediately upon signing, not effective upon entry by the court, so that we can, once it's signed, pay the taxes, because I'm guessing the court date is going to be after the February 28th date.
Right, because we do have one coming up as status, but that we would be then setting it, you're correct, after that date. And that's how I see it as well, that basically everything is contained in the agreement, and as far as when its effective date is, and that we would then present just very shortly thereafter an agreed order of dismissal. I mean, I don't see any reason why a court wouldn't accept it by any means, but we do have to have it so that Mantle doesn't have any wiggle room out.
Right.
Mary, the 28th is a Sunday.
Oh, I didn't bring that with me, but it was the end of the month. I know that for sure.
The 28th is the last day. The 26th is the Friday.
Okay. I should have brought that with me. So, but thank you, Sally. I'll confirm the date with you for the minutes, but it was definitely the end of the month.
So we need to have board approval by February 22nd, which is Monday. So that would give us enough time to make sure that Mantle's signed it by that same date. And then that would allow us to get the payment in maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, right?
Right.
All right. So then working back from there, we're already at February 8th tonight. So we either need to have a special board meeting on February 22nd or before that, or we need the board tonight to grant authorization to allow me to sign such agreement and then have a contingent upon the agreement being circulated and the opportunity for the board members to comment on it. Right?
Yeah, we could do it either way. Just obviously, because either way, the board would see it and be able to give their input. It's just a matter of whether you want to do it via a formal meeting or just everybody getting it circulated and giving feedback.
I would
Do
just
we do
ask for
that?
everyone's opinion.
I'd rather be ahead of the game. This is Kimes. Could we do that in executive session, Mary?
I'm sorry, could we do what in executive session?
Make a motion that Frank can do that, or do we not need to be in
We don't need
executive?
to, I don't think we need to be in executive session just because we've previously discussed what the terms would be and that the village understood, the village board basically understood that the village would be paying the back taxes. It's just a matter of, and you were given figures as to what those were. We just knew that eventually that would go up when a tax sale happened. And we're just trying to avoid having the taxes, the interest get added at the tax sale. So we wanted to accomplish it before then.
Okay.
So it's
So
just a
if-
matter
what
of
would the
whether it's
official-
going to be via special board meeting or that somebody has a motion that, in essence, that President Eubank would be able to sign the agreement, provided that it's first circulated to the board members and they have a certain opportunity to give feedback.
Jeremy Graham will make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, so we have Jeremy Graham that made the motion. We have Don Kimes that made the second.
Okay, but I was trying to write as it was said. Tell me what your motion is, Mr. Graham.
You want me to repeat it, Jeremy?
Yes, please.
Okay. Basically, the motion would be to authorize the village president to sign the settlement agreement with Mantle Development Group, provided that the village board is provided an opportunity to review the same, and you tell me 5 days prior, or 7 days prior, whatever it is, and to provide input. So that's what we just need to determine how many days prior. Or we can
Let's go
put
5
5 to
days.
7, 5 days, okay.
So by February 17th. So that
Okay.
would allow,
They have to provide their input by February 17th?
Yes, because that would be 5 days prior.
Yep.
And I should be able to have it out. We've been working on it, so it should be within certainly by the end of this week.
right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion regarding the pending motion? All right, hearing no discussion, roll call, please.
Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Yes. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kime?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
And then the next thing that I have, it's actually premature. We don't need it yet. But that's where we talked about having the amendment to the UDO to have a special use permit for storage facilities. That will actually be taken care of at the March meeting. There is a public hearing that's scheduled and was published for zoning under February 22nd. So that's where it will be considered by zoning with the recommendation to the board, and then we'll be handling that. I think that's for the March 8th board meeting.
All right, thanks, Mary. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's go on to Finance Committee.
All right, good evening, everybody. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the 2021 budget. This is coming from committee. We discussed this last month. There were a few small changes that needed to be made to include the changing it from 1.5 million to 1.4 for the payment to RRWRD. That extra 100,000 went to community development. The other ones, I just had it and I lost it. There was small changes under the police salaries. And where did the other one go? Oh, I'm sorry. Give me just a second.
Comcast.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what it was. It was Comcast. We decided to put that extra money in for Comcast. Other than that, the budget, you all had plenty of time to review, and the most recent one was sent out on January 19th. So again, that is coming from committee.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the 2021 budget that was presented on January 19th and amended. Since it's from committee, we don't need a second. Any discussion?
Based on the recent small amendments that were made, are we still in a balanced budget, or do we have surplus?
We still have a surplus. It's smaller than it was, but we still do have a surplus this year.
Any other discussion? I want to thank the Finance Committee and Sally Bennett for putting this together, and then all the supervisors and the other committee members for getting all this together. I know it's been an ordeal, especially with COVID and trying to figure things out, but you guys did a great job, and I heard you at the end of this last Finance Committee meeting earlier tonight, and I know you're trying to set things up so next year things will run a little bit more smoothly. So again, thank you for your efforts and your input and for coming up with this balanced budget. And if there's no other discussion.
Sally had us way more prepared this year than ever before, so kudos to Sally for sure.
Absolutely.
Good. All right. If there's no other discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Yes. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kimes?
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
All right, second item on the agenda. Over the past, since 2014, the past 6 years, the village has had a service charge added on to the residents' bills of 25 cents for regular users and 10 cents for senior citizens to help cover the cost of administrative things like that, just a small fee on top of it. The contract, or it's a fancy word. It is called
Ordinance.
Thank you, ordinance. The ordinance expired at the end of 2020, so currently we have no additional costs. This is coming from the committee. We are requesting for either a new ordinance or continuance of this ordinance for the year 2021 of 25 cents on top of the whatever the rate is for regular users and 10 cents for senior citizens, with the intent of this year looking into the actual administrative costs, and if the 25 cents and 10 cents is enough. Is it just a random number we chose? Or if we need to extend it or to charge more for the following years.
Okay, and was that something that was agreed to at the committee, proposed by the committee?
That is correct. And just to confirm again, I'll reiterate again, it has been the same since 2014, that 25 cents on all regular and 10 cents for all senior citizens. So we were just asking to continue it for 1 year.
Okay, so we have a
I think
pending
it was before
motion.
that.
So we have a pending motion from Finance Committee. Don't need a second. Any additional discussion? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kine?
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Can I just
Fair
ask a
enough.
question there? Was that a certain ordinance that you're seeking to extend? I know you mentioned ordinance, but I didn't hear an ordinance number.
There was a previous ordinance, and that is, let's see if it's in this email.
It's ordinance number 2015-05.
Okay. So we probably should have that then memorialized. I can do that,
Correct.
in another ordinance so that we're extending it. Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions on that one?
The only thing we should probably also comment on is, if we could get that ordinance, the sooner the better, because my understanding, based on what Sally said today, we haven't been able to charge that administrative charge in January or February or until we get this ordinance passed.
Okay. I'll put a double star next to that. Sally, I may be calling you for a few more details, so.
Sounds good, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Mayor, I can email you that or the current ordinance. It's a PDF, if that'll help.
As long as I have the number, I have them all. Thank you, though.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on to number 3, and it just disappeared from my screen. There it is. It's the approval for the audit contract. This is the same, this is Benning. This is the same audit company that we've used previously. According to Sally, and from everything that we've seen, they've been a great group to work with. They are very thorough. They do their job very well. We are looking to re-sign for a following year, and the increase is an additional $300 from last year. And this is coming from committee.
Jeremy, I think it's worth saying that it's a 3-year contract. The first year is a $300 increase, but each additional year has a 4% increase.
All right, so we've got a motion. Any additional discussion? All right.
While we do like this group, we had discussed looking at other groups, not for this year, but for the next contract, just to keep our options open. It's one of the many plans Finance Committee has to continue to improve and grow.
And that's something that we've done in the past. Is we have, whether it's for auditing or anything else, we have sometimes gone out to bid. So if that is a recommendation at some point from committee, then we can take that out.
I guess the only question I would have is, with current levels of inflation and so forth, is the current contract proposal favorable to bear a couple of 4% increases off of?
Just so everybody knows, the contract can be terminated at the end of the year. So even though we're agreeing to a 3-year, we can terminate after the first year. So we're not bound for 3 years.
Yeah, and Mike, we did talk about this in committee and just at least do a price check out there to see. And Sally did explain that just to get a new auditor up to speed, there's usually additional cost to get that in the first year of a new auditor while they're getting everything input and up to speed and all of that. But it's still an exercise I think we have to do. And so we are going to be more than likely, I think we talked about doing that after this year. We want to get through this year first, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, roll call.
Mrs. O'Rourke? Yes. Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kine?
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
The final item on the finance is to schedule a public hearing for the appropriation ordinance. We're looking to schedule the ordinance on the next board meeting, which is set for, I want to say it's March 8th. Yes, it is. For March 8th.
6:45?
We can,
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Frank.
Pardon?
we could do it 6:45 or 6:50. It really doesn't matter. I mean, we could do it at 6:50 and then open it up at that point. We usually don't have anybody that comes in. If we do, if we start the meeting a few minutes late, then so be it.
Okay.
Whatever you decide, just let me know so I know for publication.
6:50.
Why don't we just, that way if we have errant water, they can start at 6:45.
Okay.
All right, anything else for finance?
Pending any questions, that is it.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Let's go on to police committee.
All right, President Eubank, seeing that Officer Nyland just came in, do you want to run to your number 4?
Yes. Yep, so Officer Nyland is on duty, but he was able to stop in here. And so I want to present him for his time of service. Unfortunately, he has turned his resignation. I understand, that he has been an officer here for 14 years, and I think that's a benchmark that we need to recognize and appreciate the time that he's been part of our department. So I would like to present to him this plaque that was made. And Alan is here, if you don't mind coming on camera, Alan, so everybody can see you. So again, this is for Alan's 14 years of service. And thank you for all that you've done for the village and your time here, and good luck in your future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. So, all right. So thank you for
For
coming
your
in.
service, Alan.
All right. And you're welcome.
Hang out for
You're welcome. He's going to stay here in the boardroom and listen to the meeting like he's done before until he has to leave. So, so he will still be here. All right. Thanks, Dan, for letting me do that out of turn, and we'll go back to you.
All right, no problem. Number 1 is the use of force certification. We did get certified, excuse me, January 22nd, 2021. And President Eubank, you do have the plaque there that we gave you for that.
Yep. So we do have the plaque, and I'll give that to, I'll put it in the front office so we can have that then mounted here in the village office.
Okay. I believe there was a packet in your packet that was sent out that's on the intranet shows the number 2 is the order of succession. If any of our officers or chief or sergeant and officers become ill or are not able to work at that point in time, then there is a order of succession, and that is Chief White, Sergeant Half, Officer Spellman, Officer Smith, and then Officer McWhorter. Move on to number 3, which is the ILEDA conference, SAO funding. I'm going to turn that one over to Sergeant Half.
The ILEDA conference, ILEDA stands for International Law Enforcement Educators and Trainers Association. Every year in March, they put on a conference where officers and educators from various parts of the world can meet to get their annual certifications or their continued certifications for different items. For example, I'm a Glock armorer and a taser instructor, and I received both of those certifications through ILEDA. Last year, the conference was canceled due to COVID, and this year the conference is back on. And I had requested to attend to get my recertification in both the taser instructor and Glock armorer, and I presented that to Chief White, and I put together the total cost, excluding salaries. It was about $3,500. In the past, we've requested that the Winnebago County State's Attorney's Office pay for part of that training due to having money in their drug asset forfeiture program, where they give money to agencies for this very particular reason. And we were actually able to get half of the cost covered through the State's Attorney's Office, and we've already received a check for $1,780 for that. Along with myself, Chief White had brought up to the police committee about attending the training as well, because he can also receive the 20 hours of continued education that he needs to partake in every year that's mandated by statute. Aside from just the certification courses, there are other courses on the agenda for leadership and for other training opportunities as well. And Chief White and I plan on kind of dividing and conquering. When I'm not in a class that I'm signed up for already, we will look at the agenda and see what other classes that would help not only the village of Winnebago, but Winnebago County as a whole. And we'll attend those opportunities and get as much training as we possibly can. Obviously, we won't we won't both go to the same classes, so that we can get as much out of the conference as we possibly can. The dates for that are March 21st through the 27th of this year.
So is this something?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Stan.
No, I was just going to move on, but it seems like you have a question or something.
Well, I didn't know if this was a motion where you needed approval or wanted approval from the board or not. So if not, that's fine.
If you want to go for that, that's fine. It is under where I would be able to sign for it. This is basically like informational for the members, the trustees. So up to you if you want to have a vote on it.
I'm fine with the committee saying that they want to do this and moving forward.
Yeah, and we did discuss it in the committee.
Okay.
Number 4 is to ratify our hire date for Officer McWhorter. I know that Chief White has contacted each trustee, and this does come from committee to ratify her date back to January 1st of 2021.
Okay. So there's a motion coming out of committee. No second needed. Any discussion? If no discussion, roll call.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Kime,
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Yes. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
All right, thank you. Number 5 is Officer Altamirano's probation and back pay. This does also come from committee. His 1-year probation ended on 6/6/2020. He is to receive a 50 cent raise, which should have gone into effect at that time, which comes out to be a back pay of $128.81. This does come from committee, and you also have the rest of it on the intranet there.
All right, so any discussion? If no discussion, roll call.
Mr. Kime,
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Excuse me, Ms. Morgan? Yes. Now, Mrs. O'Rourke?
Were you just testing me? Yes.
Yes. Mr. Graham?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Thank you. Number 6, I'd like to take into executive session at the end of the meeting here.
All right, so we'll go on then to, if that's it for police.
Yes.
We've got an item on the admin team for ratification of the 2021 employee raise calculation of payment schedule.
At the last meeting, it was approved just with percentages, and we've always put the actual amount of wages rate in the minute, and so I felt it was necessary to get those ratified to be sure these are what you wanted.
I think
Okay.
we should take this to executive committee.
Okay. So we'll bring up officer salaries, and it kind of blends in with the 2021 raise calculation. So we'll go on then to my items under president. And you've got my report. The next item is a resolution for zoning board members' terms to be aligned with the UDO. We did have the terms, they were originally 7-year terms, but then under the UDO, it modified that. So this will align then the terms of those that have been selected to be on zoning board. So if we could have a motion to approve the resolution.
2021-02R.
Anybody want to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2021-02R?
Times will move.
Mr. Kime?
Yes. Do we have a second?
Jeremy Graham will second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, if no discussion, roll call.
Mr. Malagranda?
Say it again.
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Ms. Morgan? Yes. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kime?
Yes.
All right, that's unanimously approved. So I've signed it. Next item is resolution awarding video gaming license to JB Sullivan Inc., doing business as Sullivan Foods. They have put forth an application to have video gaming, and they're seeking approval from the village board for that. And what would the number be, Sally?
2021-03R.
Thank you.
Jeremy Graham will make that motion.
We have a second.
Julie will second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion regarding the resolution to award a video gaming license to Sullivan's?
Now, I remember that you have to have a liquor license with it, and there was all sorts of different variations of the liquor license. They had to have an open, you had to be able to actually drink it there, correct?
Yes, they have their liquor license is so that in the restaurant, they have the ability to serve liquor there.
Oh,
We
really?
created a
Okay.
category for that, so that's why, because this is located in the restaurant area.
Any other discussion? Okay, not hearing any additional discussion. Roll call.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Kynes,
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda.
Yes.
All right, that's approved. And I'm signing that now. All right, the next item.
Just a quick question, Frank.
Yeah.
This has no impact on our existing tax rebate program, right? This is completely separate? Or,
You're talking about the sales rebate for Sullivan's?
yeah,
Yeah, so the video gaming, it's a separate revenue stream. And so
Right.
we get a certain amount from the state of Illinois, they collect it and then they give us a percentage.
yeah, okay. That answers
so-
me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, can't we use this to pay that off quicker?
No, what we do is we pay them a certain amount based on the sales tax. We pay a certain amount each year. And then I don't know if it's a set dollar amount or if it's a percentage.
It's 35% of a rebate back.
So that's of the sales tax that they garner for the year. We pay them
Yes.
35%. But there is a maximum, there's an amount, a dollar amount. Is it like 600,000 or?
That's
Yeah.
exactly right, 600,000.
Okay, so when we achieve that number, we've never looked at trying to pay them off early by giving them extra money back. I suppose we could, but I don't know that's something that we would want to do.
True, because we're not technically paying the money, we're just not getting it by doing it the way
Right.
we currently are.
Yeah.
That's a
And there's no
discussion for another time.
Right, and there's no interest on it, so it's not as though we'd be saving money by paying money ahead, so.
Right.
Okay, so I'd like to take number 6, which is residence requirements for trustees before number 5. And just wanted to update on Stan's situation. I had a discussion with Stan a couple weeks ago, and Stan, if I say something wrong, correct me, but my understanding is there's going to be a hearing set, or there's a hearing set in April. And Stan believed it was going to be a jury hearing where the decision would be made regarding the issue of the house. And if that ends up in the favor of Stan, then he could move back to the village. If it does not end up in his favor, he may not be able to move back to the village. Is that right, Stan?
Yeah, that's correct. Just gonna wait until 20th of April. That's when the hearing is set. And unless I go and buy another property, then I'll be moving back. But I'm waiting on this other decision to find out what's going on.
Okay. And we do have the elections in April. So we will have, it looks like 2 vacant trustee seats. So we would, if Stan was able to move back in, we could consider appointing him at that point. But Stan could serve until through the April meeting. And then at the May meeting, when we seat the new elected officials, we would have to determine at that point what we're going to do with the vacant seats. So, all right. We'll move on then to future meeting dates.
Public Works,
Monday, March the 1st at 4:00 p.m.
Police,
To be determined.
Finance,
Monday, March 8th at 5:30 p.m.
Community Development,
To be determined.
that'd be the same with the 4th of July.
Yes, with the 4th of July, yes.
Liquor Commission,
To be determined.
Air and Water will be March 8th if needed. Admin, I believe, is 217 at 3:30.
Correct.
WIPC,
That should be April 21st at 5:30.
Tech Prairie Path, we don't know yet.
I don't know. Nope.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Let's move on to new business. I have a few items for new business. First thing is, I've been hearing in the news about cannabis dispensaries and other things with cannabis going on in Rockford and other places. And one thing we received from IML back when cannabis was starting up is they had model things for zoning and for municipalities. And I think we should be looking into this. I talked to Mary about it about a month ago. And I think it's something that we should be looking at in case we have any interest. Because I don't want to be behind the 8 ball or, lagging behind if somebody says, hey, we want to go there, and it's going to take us 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months to get things in place. I know we've had off and on over the last year, just would the village be interested in it, or, could that happen? And so I think it'd be good for us to just have things in place. So if somebody comes along and we say, yep, here it is, these are our requirements, and they would know what they're getting into. So I just wanted to bring that up and let you know that I'll be talking to Mary a little bit about this, and whatever we need to bring in front of zoning and or the board, we'll bring it back and let you know.
Do we even want to go there?
Well, I mean, I suppose we could bring it to the board to vote to determine, do you even want to sell anything here?
No?
Okay. And see, my opinion is yes, it's just like having alcohol. So I think maybe what we should do is have a determination from the board first, if we want to even consider something like that before we put any time and effort into it. So, I appreciate, Julie, you bringing that up, and, maybe we should either refer to a committee to discuss to see if there's any interest, or just put it on the board agenda just to even vote to see if it's something that the trustees believe we should be looking at. Any recommendations as to whether a committee looks at this or whether we just have the board discuss and talk about it at the next meeting?
I would say if it got assigned to any committee, it would seem to make sense to assign it to the liquor committee, or we go ahead and put it on the next agenda item for a board vote.
I would be
Can we
fine
just
having
straw
liquor,
poll
but
now?
we can have a discussion now if you want. I mean, it's new business. It's nothing that we're, we can talk about it, and if there's interest, great. If there's no interest, then we'll just, not discuss it any further.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you know, is South Beloit one of the towns that has a dispensary? Does anyone
Yes.
know?
Yes. Yeah.
I'd be willing to call our previous auditor, Don Elliott, to ask about what sort of revenue they get, if that's any determining factor in your decision.
It would be nice to know what a municipality could receive in terms of tax on the sale of it. Mayor Rail is a very easy person to get a hold of and talk to, so you could contact Ted Rail as well. And I believe maybe Roxanne Cisnowski is the attorney for South Beloit.
Is,
So we could also contact Roxanne and just send her an email saying, hey, do you have the ordinance that South Beloit passed? Because it would have in there what they're doing for that. So maybe we should at least just reach out to find out from them. And then we can talk.
Don is the treasurer. That's why I suggested that.
Yep. No, that's perfect.
Oh, okay.
I suppose it never hurts. We can throw it on the next month's agenda and then we can discuss it and vote then.
Yeah. And then if the board decides it should be liquor commission can take it on. If the board decides to not do it, that's fine. So whatever we'll do. So, all right. So we'll, Kelly, we'll put it on under my agenda items next month to talk about. Another thing I was looking at is when we have the Byron nuclear plant, and I brought it up, I think it was 2 meetings ago, that the Byron mayor had asked for support in keeping the Byron nuclear plant open. Mayor McNamara sent out a draft letter to all of the area village presidents and mayors, and also to the county board chairman, Shirelli. And I received it Friday afternoon and I reviewed it and I authorized him to go ahead and put my name on there and the village's logo on there. Because we do have residents here in the village that are employed by Exelon at the nuclear plant. If the village wants to do its own resolution, we may. I don't know if we need to, but I thought by putting our name on that letter, it's going to our area representatives, senators, so that they know that we would like to keep it open. If there's any, interest in doing our own resolution, please let me know and we'll put it on the next agenda. And that's all I have for new business. Anybody else? All right. So we do have 2 items that related are, they're regarding the salaries of employees. We do need to have a motion to move into executive session. I would ask that all the trustees, along with Mary Gaziano, be there. Do we need anybody else? Do we need Sally Bennett for any reason? Or
I don't
the
think
trustees?
so.
Okay, so just the trustees and Mary Gaziano. All right.
Yes.
All right, so we'll need a motion to move into executive session.
I move that we go into executive session. Kimes?
Jeremy Graham will
Yeah.
second.
All right, so we're going to move into executive session. It's 8:24 p.m. on February 8th. And what I'll do is, I think Sally Bennett, I think we made you last time the organizer to keep the meeting going. Is that right?
Yeah,
So,
I can do that again.
okay, thanks. So let me see if I can.
Don't we need to vote on this motion?
Well, yes, we do. I didn't want to forget though and have everybody come out. So if there's no discussion on moving into executive session, roll call, please.
Ms. Morgan?
I
Ms.
can't get off
Morgan?
mute. Yes. Yes. Ms. Morgan says yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Kime?
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon.
Yes.
We're discussing the two issues.
Correct, regarding salaries. And I just made Sally Bennett an organizer, so we can all exit out of this meeting and she'll have that one left open. And then when we're done with the executive session, we'll come back to this meeting.
Hey, Sally.
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good. I had to step away, so I must have missed something.
They went into executive to talk about salaries.
Yeah, okay. Is Lori still present?
I do see, oh,
Oh,
there she
now she's
went.
gone. Okay. All right. Do we still need to have it recorded, or do you think we can turn the recording off?
I was going to ask you, should I don't know, maybe you have access too. Should I
Yeah.
shut it off?
I have access to the recording too, so, I mean, I actually was the organizer for the meeting. I think I still am, as well as he assigned it to you as also, but
Okay.
I don't know that it necessarily needs to be recording. It's just going to create two recordings, which isn't a problem. So,
Yeah, I think maybe you should shut it down then, because otherwise you're just gonna have to edit it later, right?
yeah, I guess my only question is I wouldn't want anybody to think that something took place outside of the meeting. It's the only reason
Oh, that's true.
yeah. I think we've done it both ways over the course of the year, so.
We don't want to feed any conspiracy theories.
Correct. Nope. I think I'm gonna step away and go eat dinner now while I wait. All right.
I think I should do that too, but I'll be listening.
Well, I was listening, but I just had to walk down the hall for like a minute, and I think that was at the point where they decided to go to executive session. So I will be listening.
Don's on. Hello.
Hi there.
Don's on.
I got you, Don.
Oh,
There's two other callers. Could you speak?
Julie's on.
Thank you,
Don's
Julie.
on. Don's on. You hear?
This is Sally.
Say that again,
Hey,
Sally.
This is Sally.
Ooh, okay.
Give me Sally, Don.
Julie, could you speak again?
Yep, Julie's here, thanks.
All right, and Stan and Frank are back in the meeting.
I have one more not identified. Lori, are you present?
I'm here. I'm not, I wasn't talking.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
thank
that's
you.
Lori.
Yep.
All right, so looks like everybody is here. So we're back in session. It's 9:07 p.m. And
Who is here other than board members?
okay, so we have Kelly Simons, we have Sally Bennett, we have Chad Insco, we have Mary Gaziano, we have Nicholas Half, we have Alan Nyland, and you. The rest of the board members are here.
Okay.
All right. So it's 9:08 p.m. We need to take up items under police committee that were left over from officer salaries and also admin team. We could have a motion.
This is Mike McKinnon. I'd like to make a motion relative to the compensation that was decided at the last meeting. And I am making the motion that for all employees where we were going to make a wage increase and then pay the quarterly bonus in lieu of the 3%, 2%, those would be replaced by a 5% wage increase that would be retroactive back to June the 10th of 2021.
January.
January
10th.
January 10th of 2021. It's getting late.
Jeremy Graham will second that motion.
All right. Any discussion?
The only question that I have there is I'm looking at the minutes from the last meeting of January 11th, that it said to provide permanent, non-probationary employees. Just as a clarification, I thought we had said, was it full-time? Because the inspectors are village employees and they're permanent, they're non-probationary, but I don't think that the intent was to increase their compensation for their permit fees.
Right.
So I just, as reading that, I see that it said that. So I just want to make sure that we're clear of who.
I think we're referring to everyone on the submission in the board packet, the employee pay rates and lump sum payments, where we have it detailed on who gets the 3% increase. I think if we used everyone on that list, I think that's complete. Is it not, Sally?
I think what she's doing, like what Mary's just trying to clarify, is even in the minutes from the previous month, that we just make sure that, you know, we did not intend to include the inspectors in any compensation increase.
Correct. Just so somebody isn't reading this year's in the future and we have issues that have come up in the past.
So the minutes will reflect that the inspectors will not be part of this raise.
Right. Not included.
Right.
Any additional discussion? All right, a roll call, please.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. Keim,
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke.
Yes.
All right. And just for those that are on here, the employees, the last meeting we had, I did have Sally and some other ones stick on the meeting so that I could clarify what was happening. So just so you understand, instead of a 2% base raise on your salary or hourly rate and then a 3% bonus, it's now going to be a 5% raise on your base salary or your hourly rate. That will go back to January 10th. So
And
if you have
that
any
raise
questions,
is coming in the future.
pardon me?
They will
No,
come
and
in the
right, no
future
bonus. Right,
because I can't go back to the last pay period. I will have to make it retroactive. They'll get it in the future is what I'm saying.
correct,
Yeah.
right. And as Mary said, there is no additional bonus then.
No.
So, okay. Any other any business to come before the board?
No. Didn't. Oh yeah, it just carries, right? As it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it was approved. Yep.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Motion to adjourn?
Jeremy Graham will make that. Jeremy Graham will
Don-
second that motion.
Yep, Don Kynes with the motion, Jeremy Graham with the second to adjourn. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. Roll call, please.
Time.
Yes.
Mr. Malagranda,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. Morgan,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
Yes.
Mr. Graham.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everybody. I'll stop the recording now.
What's the time?